Right now, on to the point. The redistricting battle. Governor Newsom expected to make a major announcement tomorrow.
Hear how voters here in the state are feeling about the process.
What caused the deadly Esparto explosion? The investigation moves forward, but without the help of the State Department of Justice. A shopping mall in a state of decline. How the city of Citrus Heights hopes to revitalize Sunrise Mall. And President Trump warning of severe consequences if Russian President Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war in Ukraine.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. And the fight over redistricting is heating up both here in California and in Texas and shows no signs of cooling down anytime soon. The Texas Senate yesterday passed a GOP-backed redistricting bill, voting 19-2 to approve new congressional maps that could give Republicans up to 5 more U.S. House seats. But without a quorum in the Texas House, where Democrats remain out of state, the maps cannot advance to the governor's desk. 9 of the 11 Democrats walked out of the chamber in protest. The Senate Democrats say lawmakers should be focused on addressing the deadly flooding or yesterday's mass shooting in Austin, not redistricting.
Who are we serving with redistricting? Ourselves? Because we have a lot of work to do to serve Texans who are desperate for flood relief and desperate for red flag protective orders.
Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick blasted Democrats for going on what he called a vacation, while Governor Greg Abbott warned he'll keep calling special sessions until Republicans' priorities pass. Now, California voters may get a first look at the new proposed redrawn congressional maps as soon as tomorrow. Governor Gavin Newsom is holding a press conference in the morning to provide an update on the state's redistricting efforts. I want to bring in ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen, who has been closely following this process and joins us with the latest. Jeannie, what can you tell us right now?
The governor's office is referring to tomorrow's press conference as a, quote, historic event and warning President Trump of payback. His office has been calling on Trump to abandon Texas's plan to redistrict. Tonight, a California Assembly member tells me he's prepared to take legal action against the state if this special election goes forward.
The Legislative Council's job is to act in a nonpartisan manner to ensure that the legislature complies with the state constitution and all applicable state and federal laws.
Because of the role the Legislative Council plays, Republican Assemblymember Carl DeMaio sent this letter asking for a legal opinion on whether the governor's actions violate the Constitution.
The governor and the legislature don't have the legal authority to call a special election and don't have the legal authority to be crafting these maps.
Citing Article 21 in the California Constitution as the reason the governor and the legislature have no authority to redraw congressional maps.
The year after the decennial census that the federal government does every decade, it is the responsibility of the Citizens Redistricting Commission to adopt the lines for assembly members, senators, Board of Equalization members, and members of Congress. The law is clear. It is their responsibility, and it occurs once a decade.
But Chris McCaley with McGeorge School of Law adds,
despite what the Constitution says, do you, the voters, want to say the commission doesn't apply for right now for these congressional districts for the rest of the decade? Do you voters want to approve that one-time exception?
The drama happening between Texas and California has voters here conflicted on a potential special election in November.
California shouldn't worry about what Texas is doing. Worry about taking care of this state here and get the gas cheaper.
And when it comes to voting in the special election,
I mean, if there's an election of any kind, I'm actually grateful to be able to do it.
And in response to Assemblymember DeMaio's letter, Kara Jenkins, an attorney for the state legislature, tells ABC 10 they maintain an attorney-client relationship, requiring them to keep legal services confidential. Additionally, they are not authorized to provide legal advice to members of the public. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, so I have to ask you, what are, lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers, also saying about all this redistricting?
Alex, I did try to contact some Democratic lawmakers today. I didn't have any success. However, Assembly member Gail Pellerin did put out a statement today and said that there is a public portal where voters can share their thoughts on this whole redistricting process. She encourages voters to engage in this because it will keep the process fair and transparent. And I did post a link to that on our website at abc10.com.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. And you already know we'll be following this. As we mentioned, the governor will be speaking down in Southern California tomorrow. We'll bring you all the updates. Jeannie, thanks. And I also want to mention the California Teachers Union is showing its support for a ballot initiative on redistricting in California, calling it a fight against threats to our democracy. They cite the Trump administration's funding cuts to education programs, healthcare, and the attempt to dismantle the Department of Education. In a statement, they go on to say, quote, "It is clear that we are also now facing an unprecedented power grab by Texas and other states to steal congressional seats and rig the 2026 election in favor of the current federal administration. If the power grab goes unchecked, we will only see more drastic cuts to public education, healthcare, and other critical services, and a further erosion of basic civil and human rights in our communities." And the redistricting battle isn't just in Texas and California. And a heated debate is happening right now in Missouri. At the heart of the issue is a call from the Missouri Freedom Caucus for Governor Mike Kehoe to convene a special session to reconfigure the state's 8 congressional districts. The president has support from lawmakers like Representative Justin Sparks.
What Missouri Republicans are simply talking about is not gerrymandering unequal or ridiculous districts that are outside the norm. We're talking about very well thought out, equal representation.
The primary target is the 5th congressional district, represented by Democrat Emanuel Cleaver since 2005. Democrats say it is illegal to take on redistricting right now. A spokesperson from his office says that he has not made a decision on whether he plans to do that or not. According to Democracy Docket, a voting rights and media platform that tracks election litigation, along with Missouri, these are the states that are currently actively redistricting or considering efforts to redistrict. And this includes, of course, Texas, Florida, Indiana, and Ohio, which could add more opportunities for Republicans in Congress, and California, New York, Illinois, and Maryland, which could add more opportunities for Democrats in Congress. Several other states have not ruled out the possibility in what's become a very developing and dynamic situation that we will continue to follow here on ABC 10. All right, tonight we are hearing from the California State Fire Marshal after the Department of Justice declined to join the investigation into the deadly Esparto warehouse explosion. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has the story for us tonight.
Investigators with the California State Fire Marshal are analyzing evidence, trying to uncover what caused the deadly Esparto explosion that claimed 7 lives.
The family deserves answers. The community wants to know what happened, as do we.
Attorney General Rob Bonta's office said in a letter the Department of Justice would not join CAL FIRE in leading the investigation. And the Yolo County District Attorney's Office could handle any criminal prosecution that may result. The letter says, "We are confident CAL FIRE is able to conduct a complete, thorough, and unbiased investigation." Chief Daniel Berlant is responding to the letter.
Our team of arson and bomb investigators are specialized in investigating complex cases, investigating not just fires, but explosions. And so really, as the state goes, our arson and bomb team is the specialized unit within the state of California to lead these type of investigations.
The response from Bonta's office comes after the chair of the Yolo County Board of Supervisors sent a letter in last month requesting they join the investigation, citing concerns that the property is owned by a Yolo County Sheriff's Office lieutenant and another administrative employee. On Wednesday, the Board of Supervisors sent ABC 10 this statement, which says in part, "We remain committed to ensuring that the investigation into the Oakdale fire is conducted with the independence and transparency the public deserves. Our priority continues to be maintaining community trust and seeking accountability for the lives lost and the families impacted." Chief Berlant also says the administrative investigation into the licenses of the 2 companies and the operators involved in the explosion is almost complete.
In the coming week, maybe 2 weeks, we will have a determination on whether or not we are going to be able to revoke their license permanently.
He says it's now their responsibility to preserve evidence, maintain the integrity of the case, and be independent in their efforts.
Our work is not just to determine what happened, but it's also to make sure we hold any individuals or companies accountable if there's a violation of law or if there was negligence as a result.
The Yolo County Board of Supervisors says that it will keep open communication with the Attorney General as the investigation evolves. All right, still a lot of news to get to, so still ahead. On To The Point, Citrus Heights city leaders are debating whether to buy part of Sunrise Mall to jumpstart its revival. Plus, President Trump prepares for a high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Putin without Ukraine at the table. What's at stake in the push for peace?
And it was a very nice day today with highs in the 80s. Getting warmer, though, as we head towards the weekend. But then we're back in the 80s. For the weekend, it's up and down, and I've got the forecast after the break.
But first, and other headlines tonight. People living in Juneau, Alaska are bracing for potentially record-breaking flooding as a massive wave of water escapes from a glacier. The surge could push Mendenhall River about 16 feet, topping last year's record and threatening about 1,000 homes and businesses. The Trump administration scored a financial victory in federal court today. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals determined the legislative branch is the only department that can sue the White House for changes made to congressionally approved budgets. The ruling also lets President Trump continue to scale back foreign aid grants. Grant recipients sued over access to billions of dollars in funding that had been appropriated by Congress but withheld by the Trump administration. And $30,000 worth of Labubu dolls were recovered in Southern California. Police said the popular toys were stolen from a warehouse over multiple trips and days. One person was arrested. Officers say the goal was to resell the stolen Labubus nationwide. The merchandise is now back with the owner.
And it's time for a check of your weather. Let's bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef with a look at your high temperatures today, right?
Yeah, and it was very nice out there, especially around the Sacramento region. 85 is what we hit in Sacramento, 91 Vacaville, 84 in Fairfield. But even in the San Joaquin Valley, temperatures were in the low 90s, 91 Stockton, 91 in Modesto, and same story in the Upper Valley, 91 Marysville, 91 in Oroville. These temperatures cooler than normal for the time of year by 7 degrees in Sacramento, but 3 and 4 degrees cooler than normal down in Modesto and Stockton, respectively. So again, a much nicer day today than what we've had over the last several days. Temperatures coming down. Right now it's 82 in Sacramento, 79 in Elk Grove, 88 in Stockton, 89 in Modesto, 84 in Jackson, 83 in Nevada City, 82 in Truckee, and 80 in South Lake Tahoe. A lot like yesterday, we've got a really nice Delta breeze once again as well, 15 miles per hour across much of the valley, closer to 25 out in Vacaville and Fairfield. And that wind will continue through the overnight, so we're going to see some more marine stratus coming through as we get towards about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and certainly closer to sunrise tomorrow morning. So again, a lot like what we had this morning, some marine stratus to start Thursday morning. 59 in Sacramento, 61 Stockton, 58 Manteca, about 61 down in Modesto, 65 Placerville, 38 in Truckee, and 39 in South Lake Tahoe. A mild afternoon once again on Thursday, very seasonal in the low 90s across most of the valley, some places in the mid 90s. But this is about what we'd expect for the time of year. Temperatures going back up just a little bit. And once again, like I said, we're going to see those marine stratus pushing through during the morning hours, but a lot less activity on radar on Thursday afternoon as we're likely dry across much of Northern California. High pressure does move back in for Friday, but then right back out. And so that means Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, as this low pressure digs through the Pacific Northwest, we are going to be looking at below normal temperatures in the 80s. But high pressure does build back in as we head through next week. So temperatures going up tomorrow and Friday, then back down for the weekend as we are in those 80s, even some mid 80s once again on Sunday, then back in the mid to upper 90s at the end of next work week, Alex.
Right after the break, Stockton city leaders hit pause on a vote to extend the interim city manager's contract. And was the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles during immigration raids illegal? The decision now in the judge's hands. Happening now, the Citrus Heights City Council is meeting after a closed-door session to decide the future of Sunrise Mall. They are deciding if the city should purchase part of the mall property in hopes of revitalizing it after recent setbacks. Now, they plan to go back to the closed-door session after the public meeting. We will continue to follow this because the mall was built in the heart of Citrus Heights back in 1971. However, shopping habits have changed in the recent decades when it first opened, leading to fewer shoppers and ultimately fewer stores. Now, in April, a developer dropped his plan to buy 50 acres of Sunrise Mall after the city council shot down his proposed revisions to the Sunrise Tomorrow plan. City manager Ash Feeney wants to see the area as a downtown mixed-use destination with retail, housing, and other gathering spaces. We will have a wrap-up of what comes out of tonight's meeting on Late News tonight at 11. Well, the city of Stockton is yet to decide on a city manager's contract. Another story that we have been following. The city council planned to decide on the interim city manager last night, but the mayor pulled the agenda item at the start of a delayed city council meeting. Council members were expected to vote on whether to extend Steve Colangelo's contract for 3 months, paying him up to $57,000 to remain in the role until November. For now, though, the former deputy city manager will continue serving as interim city manager. The council has not set a new date to revisit the contract extension. A federal judge in San Francisco is weighing whether the Trump administration violated federal law by sending National Guard troops to Los Angeles during immigration raids. Now, a 3-day trial on the matter has ended today. California argued the troops violated the law that prohibits military enforcement of domestic laws. Lawyers for the administration say the law does not apply to the troops' deployment to Southern California. They say the troops were called up under an authority that allows their deployment when the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. President Donald Trump held a virtual meeting with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and other European leaders today ahead of Friday's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Reporter Julia Benbrook is at the White House as Trump is now discussing next steps.
President Donald Trump is scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. It's a high-stakes meeting with the focus on ending the war in Ukraine. Trump has signaled that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will not participate in the meeting, raising fears that Kyiv could get forced into an unfavorable deal. In recent days, the White House has categorized the summit as a listening exercise, appearing to downplay expectations for a peace deal announcement. Trump is now previewing potential next steps.
I would say the second meeting, if the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting, but it's setting the table for the second meeting.
Ahead of his one-on-one meeting with Putin, Trump met virtually with Zelensky and several European officials. Those involved expressed hope that the call will help shape Trump's view ahead of the Friday talks. Ukraine's European allies have long argued Russia cannot be taken seriously in peace negotiations while its bombs fall daily on Ukrainian cities and its troops attempt to take more land. Following the call, Zelensky reiterated that any decisions about Ukraine must include Ukraine. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
In recent months, Trump has publicly expressed frustration with Putin for how negotiations have been going. Today, he promised, quote, very serious consequences on Russia if Putin doesn't agree to end the war in Ukraine Friday. He refused to specify what those consequences might be. All right, President Donald Trump signed an executive order today to replenish the critical pharmaceutical ingredient reserve. The order directs the Department of Health and Human Services to create a list of 26 essential drugs. Many active drug ingredients are made abroad. Back in 2020, Trump created the Strategic Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients Reserve to help shore up the nation's drug supply chain during the COVID pandemic. All right, coming up right after the break, a look ahead to a story that we're working on for tomorrow about a big win for Rooftop Solar supporters. Well, it's been called a David versus Goliath battle, and solar supporters say this time David won. A bill aimed at slashing rooftop solar incentives in California is now gutted. And coming up at 6:30 on To The Point tomorrow, in a stunning move, Assembly Bill 942 underwent drastic changes, and as a result keeps in place certain incentives solar homeowners hold dear.
We were, quite frankly, in support of that action because it meant that rooftop solar would not be adversely affected by the bill.
I think we just saw such an outpouring of public opposition to this bill that enough senators said, this is not right. I can't vote against my constituents. And so we won.
AB 942 originally aimed to address the cost shift of solar subsidies on non-solar customers. The bill would have forced new property owners with rooftop solar switch to the current lower net metering tariff rather than inherit a more generous agreement previous owners had. While solar supporters are celebrating this as a win, they are saying that there are still more battles ahead that could impact your energy bills. So you make sure that you want to check out this special report tomorrow at 6:30 on To The Point. You definitely don't want to miss it. It is full of incredible information. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think me and the team should be looking into, you already know you can email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.